everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. This episode is being recorded on 11/1/24. This is going to be more of an impromptu episode, folks. Some people might think this is a slight rant on our part, but it's really okay, partially, but
Really?
not really,
I
no.
think, for me, I think I always am looking for strategies in play.
Mhm.
And so it's more of discussion of, and wanting to have conversations about what appear to be certain strategies at play to dilute things. How do you go about diluting information that you don't want heard, and
Mhm.
strategies that come into play to do that. So I guess I can see how some people would think that, but we're really big on talking about when we see strategy patterns
Okay.
and making people aware of it.
Okay, I think I should open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda to help support this conversation, be it guides, be it past friends, family members, whomever, to come on in, so that as people to listen to this, they can listen to it in peace and be able to take in the information and mull it around to see if they find anything useful within it to apply to their own lives.
Mhm.
And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. Now, the reason for this conversation, and this is basically exploring these strategies. This also not only began with noticing some of the shadow banning going on. This is part of this conversation where people get on our, they subscribe to our YouTube channel, the original YouTube channel. And, sorry if there's a barking dog in the background here, the original YouTube channel. Now, it's never hit over 3,000 people. And you might ask why. And I found out if you've ever been dinged on there, like little copyright dings, even the little simple ones that don't seem to hurt you, they hurt you. And there's an AI algorithm that kicks in and prevents. So when it gets to, for us, when it hits 3,000, they start dropping off, and then people believe it's not there. Now, I've had a number of different cases, even recently, of people asking me, is this stuff, is our material still out there? And I always say, of course it is. It's never not been. And I also, this is also passed here before I switched from Google Mail to Proton. There were read requests that would come in via the website or via somebody else's regular email. And then they would arrange a session, and then they would not know anything about it. And I would get very, very frustrated with this. I'm thinking, okay, somebody's jerking me around. And I wasn't wrong. And, I even questioned a client on this when they said, well, where is all your stuff? I said, where it's always been, which is right there at the bottom of the screen, the lifting.net that you see down at the bottom there, and in the descriptor below here. So it's always there. It's never not been. And I know some people are getting mind whammy because of the psionic dampening. I fully understand the logistics behind this, but it's gotten to really over bloated levels. And what is the strategy behind this? Even paying to have people, to have people look at your YouTube, like you see now, and you see this on Facebook. There was even a photographer on Facebook, I won't mention the name, that said he saw his views declining. It's because it's a pay to play, basically. And the same thing with working with the federal government when you're getting a trademark. Even a lawyer said it's a pay to play. I called it that. He said I like the term. That's technically true, where you have to pay fees every year. Basically, they're like, oh, if you're going to play as us, you have to pay twice or three times as much to actually sit at our table. And like the table in John Wick, it's the cabal, essentially. So with this, though, the reason I'm bringing this up is, and when you've heard us talk about some of this in the We Are the Champions conversation, but there's a little bit more expanded conversation in a different area on this. And just like with orgone, you've heard me talk about in the past how they flooded the market with orgone, with glitterite. And also some people just using the blanket term. Then, of course, you had the person who trademarked the word Oregonite and caused controversy on the other end of the spectrum. People already know this story, whereas I'll just sum it up in bullet points. The people create Tower Buster formula, like the one we use. They made it big, started affecting military satellites, military equipment, the DUMs, any of these things, the cabals, anything, corporations, anything. They ban it for about 8 or 9 years. They come back out of this. The CIA, three-letter agencies, start putting the word Orgonite and Orgone everywhere, and they flood the market with Orgone that doesn't do anything. Even Amazon and Wish and eBay and all of them. Etsy, of course, you have independent little people doing it, but that word is everywhere. We have to use it just as a key word in the metadata to get things recognized. But is it Wilhelm Reich's actual work? No, it is not. Not even close. They did it from that time, but they did it also a time in the early 2000s as well, where people were just throwing nuts, bolts, and screws into like truck tire rims and burying these things in coffee cans and stuff and burying them under the cell towers. You weren't going to stop those things from occurring, but you can manage it over a period of time using the millimeters and centimeters. We put tower busters everywhere. Do we give this formula to anybody? Absolutely not, because we don't want the same thing happening. The point I'm making with this is happening with not just the disclosure movement, but any topic of any kind that anybody has any sort of any important attachment to at all. This is, I call this flooding the market of this, where you may have a message in there, but it's drowned out by a choir. You're a voice in a choir, and of course, you're a voice in a choir. It's like that phrase from Star Trek where Picard talks to this civilization that just got warp power. The leader of the planet just said, "I just found out I'm a voice in a choir, but I'm okay," meaning he was fine with the alien contact. With this is different, where this kind of choir drowns out a ton of voices. Just like with, say, the whole crystal skull story, for instance. You see a bunch of these skulls flooding the market because they're trying to drown out the true message about that, which was Atlantis, which was nefarious magic. They're also the whole Ouija board thing, flooding the market in the toy aisle. They want some dark energy flowing around. You see the whole flooding the market concept? With this, it's you have a sea of voices. Who do people choose? And then, of course, you do the pay to play. Even when somebody does the pay to play, there's the champions that get segregated out from there. You see, you might lose out, and nobody will ever know your name. Yes, Isaac, I know the Cheers reference, I understand, but you get what I am trying to say. This is what's happened. You have the fake bots, and also of course, the targeters, gang stalkers, targeting through Google Mail and put in fake requests, session requests, all these things that happened over the years, leading up to this point where we have now figured out the voice and choir concept. And there's one more point I will make here. In my book, From the Fall to the Lifting, there were also false promises. And some of you channelers out there that might just be starting out might actually be getting this as well, where you have some famous individual, person, entity, god, goddess, whomever. I don't care of whom you are speaking to. It's the message in this account. It's not the messenger, it's a message in this particular case. Where I was being told you'll go from rags to riches overnight. I have never seen this in my entire life, just to tell you folks. So I wanted to entitle this episode From Rags to Riches, because there are these promises, and we've done the whole promise concept before on the show many years past, but it's good to brush it off in this episode because it counts towards this conversation. Where if somebody is making a promise, it's no different than your college and or school or in a learning institution basically guaranteeing you that you'll get a job. That is actually a promise they can't make. That's the employer. In this case, the guide or whomever can't make the promise because they are under a treaty from the GF, Galactic Federation, not to actually do that. It is actually a contradiction of the rules, but the rules don't negate the fact that they can manipulate. This is what I'm telling you right now that I know about galactic politics. That and also dimensional anything. They cannot make these promises and actually have them come true. The reason I'm adding it to this is they knew there was going to be some people that would come through with some of this information. What happened? Flooding of the market. This is a 3-letter agency strategy, folks. This is the kind of crap they pull from any of these concepts that they know something is going to work. They flood the market, but here's the secret of this. It has to hit critical mass. This is what I was telling a friend of mine the other night, and it has to balance out. But what does that look like? Do you want your voice to be silenced in the crowd, the sea of all of it? Whatever you do? No. The idea is by saying this, by seeing something, say something kind of thing, it will start to change that. For anybody viewing this, put towards that you want this change. You want the voice heard, from disclosure community to whatever voice you have. Your uniqueness comes through. Yes, you're a voice in a choir, but you're not drowned out. You're not, the shadow banning algorithm has no power. You're putting out that these things, no matter what connections you have or don't have, no matter what you have to say or what you don't have to say, those types of things have no power whatsoever. It is literally canceled out and cast into oblivion, pretty much. And this basically has zilch power. And some people might say, Chris, but by focusing on it, does that not give it? No. In this instance, I had this conversation with Arkham Ra, basically saying when you mention something like this, a plan that they have, it's loose lips sink ships. In this case, it's a good thing that the loose lips sink ships, because you're sinking a very, very obnoxious ship that is sailing the 7 seas as an evil pirate ghost ship, pretty much. So in this instance, sink it. Yes, I know. I think you sunk my battleship. I understand. In this instance, they see it as a game. This is actually a good reference he was just making. They see it as a game. It is not a game. It's dead serious. So in this, anybody that's seeing this, focus on this changing. And if you are one of these channelers that's getting this information of you're being promised this, I was promised this, promised this. Don't trust it. Now, there are some beings out there, of course. We talk to all of them. Well, not all of them. We talk to some of them, I should say, that they don't make promises. The ones we talk to now are pretty straight up and saying, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Or this is what this treaty says. This is what these beings, like say dark and light. Light doesn't always win this because it's good to have good win, of course. But they could be of equal power. You see what I'm saying? In this instance, see that is changing as well. See that us is actually, and yourselves, anybody listening to this. And I don't mean us as in just us, I'm meaning us as the community. That you want this to change, it starts with setting that intention and the foundation for that intention. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, this is, you have one job. That's this. Right here, right now, from the time of me speaking this, no matter when you hear this. It will be valid no matter when this hits your ears. I'm also going to make this available on our YouTube and Rumble channels so that this actually gets spread far and wide. Look up The Lifting on Rumble. Look up my name, Christopher S. Jacobs, on YouTube. And we're looking to expand that even further on other platforms. Just know that, yes, you want your voice to be unique and be above out in the open. But you also want to get rid of the have and have-nots, the pay-to-play. You want to get rid of all of these things. But that means, yes, you're a voice in a choir. Even if your opinion differs from someone else, you find common ground, agree to disagree. But at the same time, we had this conversation a little bit with Clint DeYoung, too, when he was on here. We may not agree on everything, but we are working towards the same goal, and that's changing this. So, Joanna?
So, I'm going to go start back at the beginning of your conversation to just bring up a few things.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, some of the things that have happened to, I'm going to say Chris, because this really has to do more with the sessions and stuff. And the most wild things and or people asking, are you still putting out material or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting things that happened where even, for example, somebody was waiting for notifications and never seeing notifications anymore of new material, which is why that they asked.
Mm-hmm.
And it perplexed and even got you frustrated, a little bit mad because this particular person was leaving comments. And you actually had a conversation, with this particular person to, what are you talking about? And literally
He had left comments and everything.
and shared screen and, showed him, and the person was just beside themselves because they're like, they didn't do it.
He was flabbergasted
So-
when he saw all this because
I-
he didn't do any of it.
Right, he didn't do anything, as well as, again, an agreed upon session or not, where it's like, I see these email exchanges, but I didn't have them. So it's a very interesting dynamic of the undertone of things that actually do happen to cause chaos, to cause confusion. The one big thing I would say about this whole concept of the pay to play, again, years ago, you legitimately had subscribers, and I'm not just talking about Chris, I'm going to say this isn't a general statement, where you had subscribers were building, people who were interested in this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, people aren't getting notifications anymore that were. Something happened behind the scene where some people were allowed to have their full catalog of subscribers notified. Some people did not. The lynching, the tightening of the news got tighter and tighter. And then all of a sudden, if you want to boost the number of people you want to see, you have to pay this amount. And this is what we're talking about, pay to play.
Yeah, pay to play is a waste of money, by the way.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't guarantee anything.
No.
So again, because you don't know, again, whose voice has been allowed to be heard and whose voices are not being allowed to be heard. So
This happened on GIC too, folks. Yeah.
So Keith's using an example of some of the stuff. What I'm saying is that this is happening to a lot of people, and people, the goal would be to get people feeling demoralized, angry, and just stop. And so,
Of which we will not.
well, again, I'm saying this as a general statement, not just trying to focus on, some of the things.
If people
But
think we're
again,
going to.
but I think the point of all of this is that we're having this conversation to share what we've seen are the dynamics that are happening that are, again, unseen pieces of information that are occurring. We've always said that champions are chosen. They're the ones that are going to be promoted. Unfortunately, whether or not some of these champions know they are part of an agenda, part of a dialogue, part of an approved story, again, we're not getting into the individual people because we know this is a complicated topic. Just to acknowledge that there is an approved story, and those are the ones who will become the more successful speakers, let's say, overall, and promoted more, while behind the scenes, it's like, everyone knows, we've told you 1,000 times about us being canceled quickly after a few years on Vimeo. They come back and say they don't like anything we do. So that made it very difficult then to have Patreon and to have support. So, but if I'm saying that we can say that happened to us, but I know for a fact that, it's not just us, that a lot of people who maybe have very interesting things to say, to want to share information, have already been just canceled and said, forget about it, that you don't know their name at all. So it's a dynamic that is occurring. And again, part of the struggle that people are facing, because there is currently an approved storyline that is going to try to find its way in. So when you're talking about, again, watching people and finding people that you find their material interesting, and again, you may find people that you find and you're growing and learning from them and their material is interesting, and then a year or two you've gravitated onto someone else that you find interesting and you're not really paying attention as much. That is sometimes the natural growth of things, of how it's working. What I'm saying is that this whole concept of I can be lazy in a sense, because the notification button is going to tell me when a new episode has been loaded or
Yeah, don't
whatever.
let AI dictate them.
I
No.
think this is what we're trying to warn you. If you are following people, you need to know where their website is and you need to go check it. Because this is starting to really rev up a bit. So I would, and again, it's a fabulous strategy. Get used to notifications. And so you make the assumption if I don't see a notification, then it must not be there, or they must have stopped, or something would have been happening because you become reliant on it. So don't become reliant on things like that. Whatever you're supporting and listening to out there, or you want to listen to out there, take the extra step, know how to get to their site, and save that however you want to save it, and check on it that way, because you may be missing out on a lot because you've made an assumption that isn't true at all. It's just a matter of how are things controlled in the background. And so the market for information on certain topics, and again, it could be all kinds of topics, not just a secret space program, or not just, the galactics, or not just it could be, basically related to, people wanting to talk about how the school's going. You know what I mean? Information and the control of that information, whatever the subject matter, is very real. And how these organizations will control that information, people haven't thought much of the detail of how it's done. And so right now we want to help everyone understand that it is done. Now, when we talk about being a voice in the choir, I think there's there are great choirs that are together with the thoughts and hearts and mind of saying, we want organic unity. We want to try to get together to have conversation. We want to see things change. We don't want this playing out like this in society anymore. We want to grow. Of course, there's a lot of people joining up in a choir like that. That's great. Those energies coalesce and things are broken down and then redone up. So voices in the choir like that. But then again, the nefarious side of it will try to put out information that, is going to be to their advantage to do by either talking truth and then changing truth after they've got people hooked. Those types of things happen. And that's where we're saying, or I wonder, and again, when we talk today, because I'm like, how is this really being done? Now, we've said this before, where innovations, and there seems to be a moment where certain innovations are supposed to hit humanity. There seems to be something in the etherics
The butterfly effect,
where people are grabbing that information and becoming innovators. Wow, everybody invented the car at the same time, 5 different people around the world, right? Things like that, where there's some sort of, informational structure where people may have hit a frequency, they can now download that information. But I wonder about the false side of that, the controlling side of that, where there's such inspiration to do things in order to confuse, cause chaos, and flood the market.
Go the other direction. Yeah.
So you're actually, so that you're actually now, and I'm not saying this is easy to discern.
Get people
Again, this
desensitized to it.
This is a strategy conversation about, again, how you take something good, and we've said it 1,000 times. How do you take something, a natural process that is good, and then how do you pervert it for your benefit, meaning bad guys, darkness? How do they turn it? It seems to me that, of course, that thought process of inspiration, of, wanting to communicate this, that, and the other, would certainly be, once the psionic side of it, the ability to pump things into people's mind that isn't natural and things like that, that would be an obvious way. And it seems full bore now. And it is getting a bit out of control in all kinds of areas. And I think, again, even we were having conversations about different topics. It's like, there seems to be a funneling of going on in certain ways. And what's really going on with certain funnelings of getting people to all think in a certain way, what's really going on behind it's because we know that sometimes things are too good to be true. And so, in what's really going on behind that. So this again is more of a conversation of what we're noticing, putting your finger to the wind and noticing, wow, this is very interesting, what is going on. People need to be aware of these things. Supporters need to be aware of these things so that they know how to go in and see the information that they want to potentially see. And just again, knowing about it, not wanting it to be engineered, not wanting it to be unnatural, not wanting it with things like that, hopefully helps to start change those energies and break some of those systems down.
And also, what also we were saying about the notification thing. This happened to both the lifting and GIC respectively. Where on the lifting side, it was more like flood the market with drowning the voice out, and also having the shadow banning algorithm take subscribers away, so people didn't get the notifications. They weren't really looking, and some of the mind control made it so people didn't see it. On the GIC side, this one was slightly more diabolical. I'm sorry if that popped up in people's face there. Slightly more diabolical, where, well, not that this other isn't diabolical, but this falls into the same category, where the GIC site was spitting out spam. It became a spam machine, and the company by which we host the site, I'm not going to throw them under the bus because they've actually done good in other areas. So, what they did was they shut that part down, and when Bjorn tried to go in and correct part of this to turn it on, see what was going on, they automatically shut it off. It's like, no, there's a bunch of spam coming through. Okay, how about you help us resolve the issue and tell us how we can make this better so this doesn't happen? We must turn this back on to see what's happening. Well, no, it's going to send people spam. We can't let you do that. They did that. It is my opinion that they allowed that so that then they had an excuse to shut the notifications off, so people weren't seeing GIC like it was supposed to on that end of the spectrum. It's basically the fireman and the arsonist being the same thing. That's an opinion. I can't substantiate that. That's just what my intuition tells me. But because of that, and also we had somebody hack it a while back that actually cracked it a little bit, and they also participated in it. I believe it's all parties involved in this. It maybe was one worker monkey in the bowels of some building somewhere doing this, but Isaac's just laughing as I called him a worker monkey. But in this particular way, they're in the basement of a particular building doing this. My point for bringing that up is it basically killed notifications on both sides. Then we got drowned in the sea of voices because those individual notifications weren't being sent out. You see, on both sides, GSC and lifting. So if people are running into this very same problem, let us know in the comments below. The reason I ask that is because when you get enough people together trying to solve this problem, you have enough of those voices in a choir aimed at the same problem, you begin to fix the same problem. So that's why I wish to bring that up. And
it truly is a strategy. And so you don't want to think that there are people actively trying to hack your site to let and to cause your site to now be a spamming site that they're going to shut down.
Then they have an excuse to shut it
down.
They're
going to blame you and say you did it and you didn't do a darn thing.
You provoked the problem. Now we can say we were provoked, and now we can shut you down.
Right. And so we hate to break the news. I think some people may instinctively know. But again, we're just going to openly talk about it to say these things are really happening. And so, you have to be aware of that, that those types of things are out there and they do happen. And again, with co-creating differently, again, with the mass energies of not wanting to see that happen, that, there are important conversations that need to be had, and to let people freely, have them, and to not block, let's say, which has happened to a lot of people, blocking actively audiences and studying things like that. Again, we know because we've experienced, but I know for a fact, this isn't just us we're talking about. This is again happening to many people that are very legitimate, with very good things that need to be heard, that are actively being blocked because they are not part of the champion group, let's say. And so hopefully again, as we all move forward, that again, this whole concept of the freedom of speech in the United States, but what does that really mean? And, and what do you really want to hear? And, but all of these things really do exist. And you just have to, again, if you are watching particular people that you like to watch, I would advise that you know how to go directly to their website, not just wait for notifications anymore, because you may be surprised on the things that you have missed that you would have wanted to be a part of and listen to.
Yes, and just know that we are not stopping doing this. We have to usually find other avenues, like we've had to find Rumble. And if anybody knows of any other video hosting sites, I'm all ears. Well, me and Bjorn have been looking for GIC. We've, of course, been looking for the lifting, all angles, all places. We have been looking for these things. So if you're running into the same issue, let us know. And this, in order to be able to change it, it's one of those two or more walk in my name thing. Not that I'm giving Enlil any credit for that line. It happens to work if you're focusing on a particular thing. Just like when all those people were in the Washington Mall in D.C. that time, they all went into a meditative state. Global crime went down by like 10% or something like that. And so if you focus all on this one thing, it stops. If you want change, and I know no matter what people are believing about themselves, about what's going on, I don't care if you're red, blue, whatever, you're wanting change to take place. No matter if you believe what we do or not, no matter if you believe anything in this community or whatever you're doing, the only constant is change. So if you want things to change from where they are, you're still participating in that same focus. So I think we're at a good point to where we can have galactic contribution. So I'm getting a scratch throat and a drill bit in my left ear. So this tells me that somebody is pissed. So see, when we start to talk about it, and I can even feel it in my jaw right here, there is definitely somebody PO'd. So that, and there's also this scene in Doctor Who where you see the character of the Master focusing 8 billion versions of himself on one goal, and he ends up accomplishing it. They were trying to say only the evil side who had the master race capability of doing this. They were basically saying, oh, that's what the Martian Germans were putting that message in there. Don't believe it, because every one of you have it. Just like in Star Trek, they showed the Vulcans as having mind meld capability, but only a rejected few. Then they found out everybody had it. All of them had it. So it was just dormant in most of them, or they didn't believe it, or it was a belief system that was in the way. It was some kind of indoctrinated belief system that was in the way of it. So I will leave this here to who is the true benevolence with no conflicting agendas that will speak today. Vesa, all right. We checked before the show and it's still the same source. Okay. The energies are fairly chaotic as of the time of this recording, I will say. Even though energy reports are sometimes kind of useless, it goes all over the place anymore. It's kind of useless, but still, I figured I'd report on that. Man. Okay, Vesa. Ah. Also, I will say, if you are a channeler, for the time that you are doing the channeling on a broadcast, one of these EMF hats. You don't know if you're going to get V2K or not. And so just point that out. LessEMF.com. So I'll put the link below. And if you guys want to be a sponsor, here we are. That's the way you do it. Also, if you've been getting mysterious itching in places like on your back and everything, that's also this psionic garbage going around too. So that's it. Well, hello, everyone. Yes, this is Vesa. What he says is true, and what you say is true. There is a concerted effort to have a drowning out of certain voices while others reign supreme. Not that it makes one good or bad or ugly and all in between. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does. But there are selected ones that they feel that they can manipulate more or torture more. There might be some that are not manipulatable, or he likes to say the immovable object within the unstoppable force type of thing. Those are the ones that they drowned out, the uncorruptibles, or at least the ones that have a message that they do not approve of, like yourselves or multiple others that are having a tough time getting anything going, from the conference to that of yourselves and many others. There are a lot more that are going unchecked out there. Those of you that may watch this or see this and wonder what is happening to you as well. Is it God that is making it not possible for us to see this? No. Is it nature? No. Nature is having a hard time going against your weather control, just as exactly as your connection to spirit is having a tough time through the psionic dampening amidst this storm. You can't block spirit, but you can block the person's receptivity to it, you see, and the grounding in nature, which is very, very important. You will get clearer messages in nature. Also, why he needs one of these from time to time, not to become fully dependent on it. That is the yield or the drawback to it, where you become more and more dependent the more usage. However, in this, what I'm saying is, if you are in this community, that of which they are in, and are not of their select champions, there is also a divide going on as to whose voice reigns supreme. This is how the Cabal and others think, you see. That you may have no interest in toppling them, but they have an interest in toppling you. Doesn't matter what you've seen, heard, tasted, smelled, or whatever, or seen. You may have no interest in ambition, conquest, superior anything. They don't care. And they're not a cohesive, unified front. He's always said multiple factions and families. Yes, you've seen this fairly evident in your theater puppets, but in this particular conversation, the rags to riches, don't believe those promises. You make the certain thing happen yourself with your energy, your mind, your heart, your intuition. If it is not your thing, you find your thing and you find your passion, creativity. I know that's easily said amongst all of this out there that right now. But the thing is, do not feed into what the television is telling you to, propaganda and the like. You separate yourself from that and be an independent observer. You agree to disagree on things. Do not fight or squabble over little things. And do not let your mind run away with itself. Do not let your wheels spin. Do not become ungrounded. And do not let narratives in your head that are not your own thoughts spin you up. This will lead me into questions.
On this topic, it's hard to figure out where to begin with genuine questions that people would find beneficial. Because I think part of that is just to make a statement that it's getting kind of old. And again, I think what I really find myself frustrated about is, again, although there is a truth that says that you must use your own energies, your own manifestations, your own abilities to pave your own way. That is a true statement. What has been happening, though, is a concerted overage.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your own little torsion field to try and push something through. What you don't see is as you said, you may not want to have confrontation with them, but they're all about having confrontation with you,
Yes.
whether you know it or not. So you've got a nice little torsion field going on that potentially, 20 years ago or whatever would have been great to be able to do whatever. And now you've got this torsion fields spinning towards you, created because you're being watched. Everyone's being watched to the point where, the others would say, well, you're just not doing a good job yourself manifesting. And I have the
Yes.
bone to pick with that because I'm
Yes.
like, it's overage.
It's bullshit, yes.
Yes, so my point is that I understand you saying that, but I'm not going to sit here and say that that is the truth
No.
because there's an opposing force that is
Yes.
happening.
Yes, you can be in your creative passion. This is one of the ultimate things that you can find that within yourself. The other half of the conversation is, as you say, the overage, yes, which is harder for us to manage, by the way. We said this to Ryan on a different show as well, or I said this to him, where this is actually, it's getting harder and harder for us to manage the overage, because the overage hits us as well in this respect when we are here on Midgard. So, with that said, there is this concerted effort, overage, and can you repeat the one part his brain is being affected by this conversation that you were making?
Well, my only point that I was actually trying to make is that, I know a lot of people, will take, let's say, them not moving to a place that they want to be as being their issue
Yes,
when it's not their
guilting,
issue.
yes, a
Yeah.
guilting of not being where you should be because you didn't manifest hard enough. That's like the one supposed insider saying humanity didn't change enough, so beings that lived underground had to go into the time fallout shelters and crapola like that. No, no, no. It has nothing to do, and I am saying this publicly now, has nothing to do how fast humanity is evolving and is not evolving. Has nothing to do with that. Now, do you have manifestation abilities to get past your targeting? Absolutely, everybody has this. But as you would say, not everybody was there yet, but also at the same time, do not listen to anybody saying that you must not be manifesting good enough. This is as he would call it, a propaganda tagline to guilt and to get you to self-flagellate. No different than in the old Christian times where they were whipping each other, like you see in the Da Vinci Code, where they're whipping each other, guilting. This is essentially that. Oh, God must have said no. No, God did not say no. In this particular way, the whole thy will be done. You don't ever want to fall into that because you don't know of whom you are giving your will to. They say true benevolent source creator. Yes, but at the same time, aren't you just talking to your oversoul at that point? Yes. Now, are you manifesting good enough? Are you good enough to manifest? Yeah, of course you are. That's that worthy, unworthy. Just like some of the channelings that popped up years ago, even from himself, where, they guilted people in saying, you didn't hit the disclosure date of that winter solstice 2017 that time. Where we have to change things now that you didn't evolve fast enough. And some of the constituents said, are we not worthy of that date? It had nothing to do with that. Zero. Do not think in terms of worthy and unworthy, not manifested enough, or so. Like he said with the group, this will take an effort. It takes a village, but also it takes one or two, mainly two and over, to start this fire, to start these fires of information. This is the whole point of this episode. Now, if you with your phrase, deny the known, manifest differently. Manifest differently basically is proper. in this, oh, didn't manifest well enough, that is the condescending side of this equation. Whereas if you hear from other seers, oh, you just didn't manifest this, you're not focusing on this. In some cases, are the focuses being ill manifested towards something else maybe you shouldn't be focusing on? Yes. Yes. Can you say that you're, of course, integrated into this equation? Absolutely. Are you the end all be all of the ill manifestation? Absolutely not. This is their way of guilting, getting that self-farming going, and then getting others to believe that, oh, maybe you're ill manifesting, and there goes the two or more walk in my name, but in the wrong direction. You see what I'm saying? This is exactly what is going on. Now, when you get to a certain stage, is it possible to overcome said overage that is pounding on you on a constant basis? Yes. Is it possible for you to burn out these devices with those same thoughts? Like they showed again in that Doctor Who episode, another Doctor Who one he was mentioning with the psionic dampeners and amplifiers, because they are amplifiers too. Is it possible to burn themselves out? Absolutely, the same way you all did for Hurricane Milton, taking it down to a 3 from a 5. Yes. But just know you were fighting uphill with that because the weather control is using this is the same devices that'll try to cancel it out. If they see a bunch of people focusing on the same thing, they will attempt to distract you with little theater puppets nonsense and other things of one thing after another within the individual's life or within the group. Look for those patterns. You will begin to see exactly when think about this at home. If you start to get into a certain energetic state, what happens? Your phone rings, someone knocks on the door, dog barks, a baby cries. A neighbor is arguing with another neighbor. There are people screeching in the street, making weird noises. There's a car wreck. You see, it's a tripwire that you've hit at that point. So then what happens? The person gets kicked out of that state, goes out and starts yelling at those that are causing the problems or perceived causing the problems. Then what happens? You've just entered into the distraction. You are now in the twilight zone, so to speak. You have been for quite some time, I might add, since the damn show was invented and before, I may add. But in multiple timelines of realities too. But in this, the crux of this conversation is, is it possible amidst all these distractions to go from rags to riches? You can, but is it what will happen in your reality or your timeline? Probably not, but depending on what you mean by riches, and also depending on what you mean by manifestation and focus. Now, do I say surrender to a flow you know not what? No. Faith is most, let me see, what's the phrase? Faith in this respect can't be blind either. You have to know what you're getting into. Now, as we report, loose lips sink ships. That is beginning a different manifestation this way. Hence, your purpose with the lifting. It actually starts this ball rolling. Does this mean that you should not have those riches, both in energetics and financially? Absolutely not. But just know that in this you say fringe territory. This is the wilds. This is like the wild, wild west of this particular territory. Know that you are fighting narratives that are far older. If you go into this territory, you are any indoctrinated foundation, even those that came in religious times, as well as New Age, as well as metaphysical, any of these. Just know that looking into the entire breadth of this, you are running into manifestations that, but per those people's own litmus test, it has been validated to them because it's their own validation being reflected back at them. This is an important thing to understand about validations. There's a discernible difference between spirit, your own oversoul, and true benevolent source creator and soul family, all in benevolent soul family, and something that is a manifestation of your own creation being reflected back at you, whether it is oppressive or more open. Sometimes people, oh, I can feel the validation. Yes, but there's two different kinds, a self-made one and an actual one, just like there are two types of synchronicities. You see through technology, through clocks, through anything. There's the false AI ones, like you have your 1111s, and then you have the other ones that we've also use a clock as well. We always use one of our favorite songs by Dorothy, You're Pretty When You're High, meaning up energy, and we always use the 420 reference that he knows it's us. Meaning you get up into the laughter stage, into that balanced stage, you're better at that point and balanced. That's also, some of it's us, some of it is AI, but also spirit as well. And because all these sides can make synchronicities to, oh, is this how you're supposed to go? Or is this how you're not supposed to go? And then people roll a dice like it's a game of D&D or a game of craps. And then they're basically playing blackjack, essentially, or roulette with their path. You don't always want to completely surrender that. You want to think it through. You want to also have your heart space involved. Critical thinking and intuition always reign supreme. That in this, know that if it's a manifestation of a blockage of your own making, if you're not proceeding in a way because you're hindering yourself from a virus in the DNA, from an indoctrinated belief system, like he says, the woman that invited her ex over to come over and her intuition told her don't, her Christianity told her yes, he went to jail, her intuition was correct. Situations like that, know when it's you haunting you, like with a poltergeist in your own home, or if it is an actual oppressive force that's telling you no, or if you're actually getting or demanding no, or if you're getting a validation, or is it a part of you validating this and you're going in circles like a hamster wheel? There are these choices out there. This is also another validation or a valid point in this conversation.
So I think one of the areas that I would say if we were giving, I say we, but obviously I'm talking, so that if I were talking, that I would say, we never like to leave people without things to think about and how to apply.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that, I can say that we've noticed is, again, being in this world, going through all of these experiences that you are going through in your life. It's because you learn more by the experience than you do just reading a book. So we could all be up in heaven, let's just say, reading books, but we came down here to experience it because
book knowledge versus street knowledge.
Right, you really need to understand it by experiencing it. So my point of saying that in this whole conversation is that in this process of you learning and growing, I would advise a couple of things. You need to have it first and foremost in your head that you will be exposed to things that are for your highest good to expand your understanding, whatever that is. It needs to be kind of that expectation. Now, some people never want to hit a pothole. Some people never want to make a mistake. That's unrealistic in life. You're going to have to now, can you just hit a pothole instead of having a head-on collision? That would be the goal sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Others would want you to have the head-on collision. So you have to walk around with kind of that expectation. And again, if you're going to talk to anyone, it should be your higher self who's got your back. That, there is an expectation that as let's just say channel surf, and as I go through this, that I am guiding myself to information that is for my highest good, again, with no conflicting agenda, meaning that part of what you're learning is going to be, is you're going to get involved with some bullshit in order for you to learn how to discern bullshit from non-bullshit. So it is a part of the process, but you need to walk this path in a way that you have an understanding that it is the experience of learning how to discern through it all. You don't magically know how to discern through it all. You have to practice it. You have to strengthen that muscle. You have to go through all of these different things. But you need to do it, that you're going to do this and have these, watch these things and be drawn to those things that are for your highest good. And then you will start to outgrow some of the information, because you're going to realize that, wait a minute, this is the same story, the same carrot and the stick, different story over and over and over again. They're not really getting anywhere over here. Let me try and listen to that. And you will slowly begin to discern. And you need to put that expectation out there that that will be your growth. That's how it will be done, instead of, again, waiting for a savior to do it for you. You're going to have to learn to do it yourself. And you will get lumps and bumps, even in, again, bringing on a temporary belief system that then you have to shed a little bit later. This is the process of the growth, and while you're here experiencing it. But you should also be putting out there, hopefully, that you do completely disagree in the overage of the pressure being put on people to try and discern through.
Yes, and do not.
No, go.
And yes, and do not fall for the trick that it is not also you doing this. It's like in that Next Generation episode where the woman Ardra was actually controlling an entire civilization. It actually wasn't that ancient god of theirs. It was somebody that had just shown up and was portraying herself as such and created used old contracts and stuff. And Picard makes the point saying, Did she do the cleanup your society? Did she clean the air, water, all of it? Did she unite your people, stop the fight? Oh, no, we did that. Exactly. And you gave this big credit. Don't do that. You're quite capable of doing this yourselves. Just know that, yes, there are ETs amongst you. There are some that walk amongst you every day. They're your neighbors and friends. There are dimensionals. There are people that work in these projects. There are people all over the place that you wouldn't even begin to know are part of planetary, galactic, and interdimensional societies. Just know that you are being heard. Just know that you have to hear yourself. We are not your saviors. There are no saviors but yourself. You're not powerless, like that show Powerless showed that those reporters were watching Superman and Batman and the rest of them, and they thought they were powerless, and that was a psychological experiment. The series didn't last long, but it didn't need to. It was a seed planter, basically saying regular humans were useless. Wait for Superman, or like that documentary, Waiting for Superman, meaning you can do things yourself. This is where you're at. It doesn't mean that galactic forces and stuff don't try to intervene. Just know there are forces at work. Like your Freddie Mercury said, at war with the darkest powers and your princes of the universe. Just know, and the Highlander whole story, just know that there are battles being fought that you know nothing about, and even wars being fought that you know nothing about. Even in a political sense, even a fisting of the cuffs war, even galactic politics, even arguments, even with doing a side eye from here and there. Just know there are also planetary contracts in place. There are bureaucracy like you see in Jupiter Ascendant. There are all these things that you think is confined to your planet. No, it's as above, so below. If you want this changed, change it with your intention. You have that power. People always say, oh, I can't take up a sword and fight. No one is telling you to. But energetics or physical, it makes no difference. It does if that one's your lane. There's no such thing as a warrior not being able to ascend. They did that so people wouldn't stand up and fight the government or an authority figure. Your church made that up so that people wouldn't stand up against them if the time was right. The same goes with the giveth unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, giveth unto God what belongs to God. Bullshit. You're faced with this right now because that was that was Rome wanting to tax people, just like Jesus in the well story. Whereas the two guys only threw a few coins in, the woman threw everything in, and Jesus said she did it right. That was Roman propaganda. You are up against propaganda on an even bigger scale right now. That was a seed planted at that time but now you are up against propaganda, basically getting you to give away your own power. This is where you're at. And also with the shadow banning, this is understood by every one of us that this is going on. Do not think that this is not understood. Can we always act upon it to help you out? No. If any being is making a promise saying, I can absolutely fix this. They are fully and completely and utterly full of shit. So, with that said, I pass this back over to you, Joanne.
Yeah, and so again, even though somebody could be full of shit, you can certainly put the intention out there that you don't want to be in a world that this is a part of it.
Yes.
That's the intention we're talking about, that this is not. That, because again, in at least in this country, then is that freedom of speech, or is that, you know what I mean, speech that is really limited and or unheard? It's the opposite of free speech. And again, in the opposite of a natural kind of a unity that is going on. So again, part of the conversation today was to completely make you aware as much as possible that this is going on. No matter how much people want to believe that it's stopping, it hasn't stopped. It's been going on since we existed, domination and control. It is now in a playette that's been going on, trying to change its looks and feathers to make you think, and especially happening behind the curtains, let's say, of, you know, organizations or whatever, where you don't have any idea what they're really doing behind the scenes to control conversations and to control things that they don't want heard. It is happening. It is
There are
happening.
meetings taking place all the time that this is actually happening. Even board meetings saying what headlines to put out there, what also meetings out there saying what narratives are acceptable, what are not. And these are of commonplace, like in your places like Hollywood, some office buildings, even places that you hadn't counted on, where people are having meetings in homes where there's disinformation being spread. You've heard of their aviary group, but that's only the public one. They are making one public, so you don't notice the other ones that are in some grandma's basement somewhere.
Right.
This is exactly what's going on right now.
And so the point is, if you know about it, as we try to report some of these strategies that are ongoing and are being used, then you do have an energetics that can say, this is not what I want to be happening in the world that I am experiencing it in. I do not want this. I do not want this for myself, my children, my grandchildren. I want this to be dissolved in a more honest, upfront way of communication. But you have to, and that's where we say, you don't have to get out there with the sword. This is pure intention. The answer is no. So, but if you don't know that these things are really happening to the depths that they are, you wouldn't stand up and say no to it. And then it would continue. Because unfortunately, there are times when either not knowing or being neutral to it gives them the power to continue to do the things that they are doing. It's about knowledge is power, and then implementing your intention and what you want it to look like. That energy coalesces and starts to break things down. So again, so we do feel that it is our responsibility, in a sense, to have these conversations so that people can give thought to it. And again, lay in what you really want this world to be like and how we talk and communicate to one another. And should it be so controlled and manipulated as it is now? So it's just food for thought. I don't really have any other questions if you just have a statement.
Yes, this is where we're at as well. With this particular topic. The reason that the conduit opened up this evening is essentially look for this when you are speaking. There might be a false sense of urgency and a true sense of urgency. This ended up being one because of the nature of the conversation. When you two speak on this, and then your viewers focus on, again, another reason for the notifications not being there, either on the GIC side or the lifting side or all the above, is the whole two or more people, walk in the name of manifesting, let's just say. Let's just not in that other boob's name. We'll just say, in this particular way, you are bringing forth this information, and it is actually planting the seed, he likes to say, within the canon out there. That's what you want. But why we suggested also the name change, he doesn't want me to say, for GIC and various other things, is because other businesses and such that him and Bjorn were speaking about, is because entering them into a canon, you get more people noticing. If you have a mall, let's just say, full of stores, several floors, let's just say, of stores, and you have people walking through said mall, And you have, each one of these vendors, say each person that enters the mall goes into every single store. That in that way, it is not drowned out. Online, it can be drowned out easier. Why do you think they're getting rid of storefronts out there? Online, it can be drowned out so much easier than a physical location. This is why you want both of these. This is why you want both of those things existing and coexisting side by side. Let's say you go into an online area. An algorithm can be trained, an AI algorithm can be trained to cast certain ones aside and bring other ones forward. This is why this needs to be changed. That somebody actually took the time to waste their time to sit in, so he likes to say, in the bowels of some building somewhere. It was actually a bunch of somebodies that did this. Sitting in the bowels of some building, we'll say in, let's say, the state of California, and did this. This is how this occurred. Humans created this. Humans can undo this. This is where I'm at with this. You've heard this phrase, be the change. I know it's cliche, but this is still true. Doesn't matter who said it, doesn't matter the controversy behind Gandhi or anything he said or didn't say or do or didn't do. It's irrelevant. Discern the message, not the messenger in this case. So, good. If you have any other questions for my set.
No, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you all. And you were both loved fully and completely, as are the viewing audience. So thank you. Yeah, this I actually could feel her hair down my neck. That's why I was that felt weird. It felt like my hair was longer. Her hair is down in the middle of her back, so yeah. So it's interesting. But how clear that can come through. But at the same time, the energy as of November 1st right now, it is pretty garbled still. That'll start to taper off as people are going through the holiday season. So until the winter solstice, that is. You're in the clear about January 2nd or 3rd. But in this, if you have anything else to add, Joanna, we can.
Just again, I think this was something that we just really wanted to bring to people's attention again, so they can think about it and put out there with their own energies, the types of things they want to see and the types of things and interferences they don't want to see. And, put that intention out there. Again, the coalesce does happen. Things do start to break down. And then hopefully it can be then coalesced into something more of the experience that people want.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I fully agree with that. So we are, at the time of this recording, I can feel some interference coalescing to shut us up from this conversation. So thank you everybody for watching this particular show. Remember to go to our sister site, galacticinterstellarcouncil.com, to subscribe to the $5 a month subscription. And just know, yes, it's hit both these sides respectively, either in a computer code sort of way on one end, or an algorithm shadow banning one on the other. Doesn't matter about the certificates you buy. It doesn't matter about any of these things. They hit it, even the pay to play. Just remember that you have to change this yourselves. Don't rely on always external sources. So I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.